All right. Welcome everyone to the very first BDNA work group meeting. I'm Chelsea Powers. I'm the current chair of the Neighborhood Association. I've been in the neighborhood about 5 or 6 years, and my pronouns are she, her. I'm going to just call down the line and you can introduce yourself if you'd like. You can say about how long you've been in the neighborhood and your pronouns. Kim, do you mind starting?
Sure. I am Kim DeLeo. I live at 63rd and Duke. Been in the neighborhood for 6 years. Jeff and I live here, and pronouns are she, her.
Excellent. Thank you. Katie, do you mind going next?
Sure. So yeah, my name is Katie. I just moved in, I guess got the keys June 1st, but moved in June 15th. So super new to the neighborhood. Love it here though. I'm really happy to be a part of a community. And I'm at 57th and Cooper, so right by the orchard. And my pronouns are she, her.
Excellent. Can I ask how you heard about BDNA?
I just knew, once I bought a house that I wanted to be involved in a community association and be able to build the community up. So I just went online and found you. Yeah.
All right. Camille, you're next.
Okay, my name is Camille. Similar to Katie, I am new to the neighborhood and was really excited to join the community. So I also kind of looked it up and sought it out. My husband Kyle and I, do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Kyle.
So we moved in about 2 or 3 months ago. So we're super new to the area. We have a cat that's all over me. Pronouns are she, her, and we live at 66th and Duke.
Awesome. Welcome. How did you hear about the neighborhood association?
Similar to Katie, I just kind of was interested in joining whatever neighborhood association of where we moved and just really wanted to be involved in the community. So looked it up on Facebook and joined.
All right, Lynn, do you mind going next?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Lynn. Pronouns she, her. I've been in the neighborhood for 28 years, and we bought a house in 1993. We're off Southeast 60th and Duke. Oh, and I'm on the board. I'm the treasurer.
I should probably say that both Kim and Lynn are board members, and Kim's our Southeast Uplift rep, and as Lynn said, she's the treasurer. So definitely thank those board members. Those are thankless jobs. Gilly, you're next.
Hi, I'm Gilly. I've been in the neighborhood for 3 years approximately, and I'm at 74th and Henderson.
All right. Marianne, do you want to introduce yourself, or Marianne? Sorry, I always butcher names. I apologize.
Hi, I'm Marion Dixon, and I live with my son on 65th between Cooper and Flavel. And I've been here since 2013. And I heard about this at the neighborhood cleanup on Saturday.
Excellent. We're glad that you were able to participate in that and you found us. Hooray. Melanie.
And I'm very interested in getting more trees in the neighborhood.
Yes, I think trees are definitely going to be one of the projects that happen in this group.
Great.
All right.
I was also wondering about, the new development requiring them to put trees in when they have those apartments and stuff that they build.
So that's going to be a question for the land use committee. And the land use committee meets on the second Thursday of the month at 7. And Stephanie would also happily answer that question by email, but she is the one who is up on what the development requirements are and things like that. She's done a lot of research and is much better versed than I am in that. So I can connect you with her. She will be back to meetings in October. So
that'd be great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yep. Melanie, you're next.
Hi there. I'm Melanie she, her, and I'm a longtime resident. I've actually delivered my 25-year-old daughter, not when she was 25, of course, but back in 1996 on 77th and Cooper, but now I live on 69th and Duke. And I'm also part of the Southeast Rising, the 20-person, advisory committee. So I'm really hoping that about the trees. So they've been talking about trees. So I hear you about that. And I heard about this when I first moved in. I really wanted to be involved. So that's about it.
Awesome. Welcome. Thank you everyone for joining. This meeting is a new idea, and it was kind of inspired by Stephanie, our land use chair. It's replacing a meeting that was a stopgap to help committees meet. And now what we really need is a meeting where we can hash out details for specific things on an ongoing basis. So to that end, this meeting really needs to be for all of you. And so we'd kind of started chatting before we started recording, but I want to do 3 quick questions. So the first question is, do you want an agenda for this meeting? Thumbs up for yes, thumbs down for no, thumbs sideways for I don't care. And you can use your video thumb or your e-thumb. So agenda for this meeting? Yep. All right. I see agendas are good. All right. I would like to suggest maybe adopting a protocol that my husband's office uses, or at least one of the supervisors does, where we limit the agenda to 3 items. And the meeting starts on time, regardless of who is there. Do we think these are reasonable requirements for this meeting? Thumbs out, reasonable, thumbs down, unreasonable, thumbs in the middle, I don't care. All right, fantastic. So we like those ideas. Okay. The third question is, would we like to project a screen that shows the agenda and where we take notes? Or do we prefer to have the face-to-face group meeting? Thumbs up for projection, thumbs down for face-to-face, thumbs in the middle for I don't care. Not a lot of strong opinions on this. Oh, we're really split. All right, I think that one maybe we will do a poll to the neighborhood as a greater one, or we can try it both ways, maybe do projection at the beginning or and not at the end. Kim, you have a hand up?
I was just gonna say, if it's gonna be a quick, kind of 3 topics, I think that's easy for people to remember. And it is nice to see face to face. And then I had a question. Will there be like 5 minutes of community time or like open forum? Okay.
That's great.
Awesome.
I think that's a great idea. This part of this meeting is figuring out what we want it to be, because this meeting is not for me. This is for us, for all of us as neighbors. And so please don't make me arrange it completely, because then it's not what anybody wants it to be. So, okay. So we'll do the 3 topics. Do we want to do an introductions and like a brief community discussion, Kim? Is that kind of what you're thinking? Like we did today, where we kind of introduced and chatted
That was
a little?
nice. And then I think maybe, at some point, in case anyone has anything they want to bring forward, kind of an open forum or a problem they want to discuss, or
I like
something they
it.
want to see in the neighborhood.
All right. So maybe like a ideas solutions time where we can add to our list of things we want to maybe focus on, maybe an ongoing list of projects we want to get to and not let slip through the cracks. Do we think that might be a good list for this group? Okay, I'm seeing nodding. Katie, you have your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. Just because I'm new, this is my first time to a meeting. What would be really helpful for me is just some background on the association and maybe some projects that you have worked on in the past and some future initiatives that you hope to implement in the future, and then the actual purpose of this meeting specifically, because I am super fresh and I have no idea. So it's hard to vote on things when I just don't have any background.
Yep. And this is a brand new meeting.
Okay.
So it is not our normal board meeting, not the formal nuts and bolts thing we have to do every month. So I will definitely do that. Okay. I think this is enough feedback for next month, us to try a format. So I think this is good. Okay. Let me just make sure I have my notes here before I lose my brain. All right, so let me do that because you are correct. We have several new neighbors or neighbors where this is their first meeting or they have no idea what BDNA is. So Brentwood-Darlington Neighborhood Association, here's the quick summary, was founded in the mid-80s. It was originally different names, went through a few iterations. It's always kind of done the same thing. We are one of 94 or 95, number changes sometimes, neighborhood associations in Portland who are run completely by volunteers. We receive a very small communications grant from our neighborhood coalition, which is Southeast Uplift. This year it was $500. That is the only funding we receive. The neighborhood coalition are nonprofits and 2 city-run coalitions that oversee neighborhood associations. They provide support, insurance, and administer that communication grant. Most of them also do all sorts of other things. Southeast Uplift has a whole grant program for communications and small community grants and things like that. So all sorts of things that they do, and it varies from coalition to coalition, and how they distribute their funding is also up to them in some ways. Coalitions receive their funding from the City of Portland Office of Community and Civic Life, formerly the Office of Neighborhood Involvement. That is a city bureau that is currently managed by, I believe, Commissioner Joanne Hardesty. So city at the top, nonprofits in the middle, volunteers at the bottom, and that's us. Since I have been on the BDNA, which has been, I think I'm going on 6 years now, there's been a lot of cool things happening. So when I first joined, there was already a project in motion to get sidewalk infill along Duke and Flavel. So that was kind of the project I ended up in accidentally, and it's amazing. So that is happening now. So those improvements you see going in along Duke and Flavel and on Ogden, the Greenway there, those are coming because of a $5 million grant or $5 million federal funding that was received in 2017, won by BDNA. We got, I believe it was 2.3 from the federal government, and then PBOT was able to match it to make that $5+ million. So that project is now currently being installed. So that's one of the things. Let's see, other projects. We have done the 2023 language resource guide. That was a printed guide in English, Spanish, and Russian, all about our neighborhood. It had businesses, it had history, it had resources, and it is still available on our website at brentwood-darlington.org/guide. And you can still download a PDF, but I believe we're out of physically printed ones. Let's see, those are 2 big ones we've done. We used to do, when there was a program for it, we used to do the bulk waste events. So if you have lived elsewhere in Portland before this, you would know about the neighborhood cleanup events where you could take your trash and dump it in a dumpster. That was a program by Metro that was administered by the neighborhood coalitions, and it is no longer in existence. They got rid of it. So we can't do that anymore, even if we want to. Kim, is your hand up from before or up again? Okay.
Sorry.
So let's see. Other things like things we're currently doing might be more helpful, because with COVID, it's harder. Because pre-COVID, we threw, I believe, 6 events or more a year and had 3 meetings a month, and then, all sorts of other things that we had going on. But we usually did a Halloween event, the neighborhood cleanup, movies in the park is something that when we're allowed to have it, that's one thing neighborhood associations do. We also did National Night Out or some sort of community equivalent. And I would have to look at my guide to see the rest of them because it's been a while. Oh, 4th of July, that was a BDNA thing. So that's kind of an overview. It's really a what volunteers want to do within the guidelines of what we're allowed to do and who shows up to do it. So a lot of events happen because I happen to love events, and that is where my energy tends to go. The amazing land use stuff that you might see coming out, like the Transportation Growth Management Grant, which is the Lower Southeast Rising that Melanie is on the committee for, that was a BDNA project with PBOT that Stephanie did with our land use committee. She's our land use chair. So that's another big thing we've done. I forgot about that one. Another thing is we do a lot of getting information out to the neighborhood. So when we were meeting in person, we would have guest speakers a lot, especially from the city, about projects that were ongoing or coming in, like the Arrow Heights Park project, or they were doing some paving projects over on 45th, things like that. So please stop me when you have heard enough.
Sorry, I mean, I'm on mute, but yeah, no, that's great. I think that's super helpful to understand that, you know, the purpose and the group, and, you know, that there is option for direction just based on who's available and who attends. So thank you. I really appreciate that.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. It's what you're passionate about. Let's do it. Okay, so the main discussion tonight is Halloween Festival. Does anyone want to talk about anything else before we talk about that? Okay.
Sorry, I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
I don't know if this is the right place to ask, but where do we find more information on if we want to join any other meetings that the Neighborhood Association puts on?
Everything, or almost everything, is up on our website. It goes out in our e-newsletter, and it's on our Facebook groups. So even if you're not on Facebook, it's all on the website. It starts there and it kind of feeds through the social media pipeline. And if you go to our website and you have your pop-up blocker off, you'll get a little pop-up to sign up for our newsletter, and that's the easiest way. But I believe there also is a link on the sidebar. And if I am remembering correctly, I have updated the sidebar to show when those meetings are. And in the e-newsletter that goes out, I include the Zoom link right underneath the meeting information. And I also post it on the closed neighborhood Facebook groups. And you can also email me and say, hey, I want the meeting link. But good to know is the meeting link is the same. There's for the whole year. So there's a meeting link for the public meeting. That one doesn't change. First Thursday of the month, you click that same one. Second Thursday of the month, the link for land use doesn't change. You click that same one. Third Thursday of the month, BDNA work group, click this link. It's not going to change. So you can go back and find that email or save it into your calendar. And this link is going to be good until they make us change it because it's been too many occurrences. So, and I think that's like 20 or something. So, so know that we're trying to make it as easy as possible to get here without getting hacked, because that was not a pleasant experience. So, any other questions? Okay. I'm going to dive into what I have dubbed the Halloween Festival, but I am definitely open to other ideas for naming it. It is formerly the Spooktacular and Trunk or Treat. The reason I would like to change the name is it does not translate well. And so reaching our neighbors who don't read or speak English is difficult because you have to explain both concepts on your flyer. There is no direct translation. Halloween Festival translates in just about everything, but definitely if there are better names, type them in the comments or raise your hand or just popcorn out with them. That is the working title. So hit me up with that as we go. In the past, this was a fairly big event, and we would have neighbors bring their cars and decorate their trunks. If you're not familiar with a trunk or treat, it is cars in a parking lot decorated to whatever theme, and kids trick or treat the trunk of the car. So hence the trunk or treat. This event has been geared towards more elementary school kids. It is held in the daylight to like dusk at night, and is not meant to be scary. The Moose Lodge does a great haunted house, and that is something that we don't want to compete with. And this gives kids who don't like to be scared an option. In the past, we also made sure that there were non-food treats, there were allergy-friendly treats, and that every kid got something at each stand. So even if neighbors wanted to do a trunk or treat but could not bring their own prizes or treats, we provided them if they couldn't. So that's kind of an overview of how that portion of it worked. Our previous year that we were able to do it, we were also able to get the PDX Avengers, which is a local cosplay group that does charitable cosplay. They dress up as different Marvel characters and come to events for free. They do, you know, like hospitals and things like that, schools. And at least one of them works here in the neighborhood. I believe a few of them actually might be either residents or frequent Brentwood-Darlington Tonians. But anyway, we had them, and they are interested in coming again, as long as we can, you know, be safe and all that, and actually host the event. That brings to hosting. In the past, we have hosted at the community center, and this has been traditionally an outdoor event with the trunk or treat, with treats and fun inside. I think we will need to consider that this year, and how we want to work all of that. So with all of that background, I would like to take a moment to not talk and let neighbors discuss their ideas. So does anyone have any thoughts on how we could run this safely and more efficiently this year? My thought before I mute and let somebody else talk is I would like to provide either games or tables instead of trunks this year, so that people who don't have cars or don't want to bring their vehicle to be in a lot where kids might touch it aren't excluded from participating or volunteering. It can just be anybody volunteering at that station. So that's my idea for this year. I'm gonna mute and hope somebody else wants to popcorn up.
I'll jump in. I've done a couple trunk or treat events up at Manor House in conjunction with Starbucks over the last year, focusing on foster kids access. And we have had pretty good success a couple different ways, including tables where people were able to walk up, trunks where we had a person assigned who delivered, that person who kind of owned that station would deliver to the child, but there wasn't 6 feet distance. We were all masked and careful. But we have had pretty good success with both ways, and it passed kind of the checklists of what was needed to make sure we were keeping everyone safe from the foster system standards as well. I did have a question about what time of day that happens, and if we could bring people in who will have trick-or-treaters later to support as well.
So
early to dusk.
Traditionally we haven't held it on Halloween. It's like a pre-Halloween event. And in the past, another aspect of it for holding it before Halloween was we had a free costume closet where neighbors could donate kids' costumes and kids could shop for costume pieces if they didn't have a costume. I'm not sure if we can do that this year with different risks, or because that's a lot of people touching a lot of things. So I would like opinions on that. And we will also, if we do it on Halloween, which we possibly could, in the past, I believe it was like a 3 to 5 or 4 to 6 kind of event. So we could adjust that, and then, so I'm definitely up for opinions on that. I'll see if I can find the actual times.
I have just a question. Where do you think we would hold it this year?
I would think
Like
the
a-
community center would still be
Yeah.
a viable option. I just don't think we should use the inside of the building for things other
Okay.
than the restrooms.
And I've not done one of these before, which is crazy to me because I have like all the Halloween decorations. But my goal is to actually scare children, so I'll have to tame it down. But when you say trunk, does that mean out of the trunk of your car?
Yes, and so
Probably.
previously people would decorate the trunk of their car.
Gotcha. Okay.
Gilly, it was previously 4 to 7 p.m. So if we had like a group of volunteers who wanted to be there in the dark for trick-or-treaters, we could leave it open or leave a certain amount of it set up.
Mhm.
So like maybe set up like a pretend trick-or-treat space kind of on that front lawn by the sidewalk where kids walk by the park, like a little trick-or-treat stand.
Mhm.
Oh, and
Go
ahead.
sorry.
no, go.
I think it makes sense what you've done before, having it beforehand, and I kind of forgot about that from a couple years ago, just hearing about it, because then you can, so many people who are enthusiastic about this are going to be parents who are busy Halloween evening, so that makes a lot of sense.
Do we still think the 4 to 7 time slot seems reasonable? Okay. I had a thought, Gilly, you were talking about not being able to do 6 feet, correct? When you were handing like treats and stuff. What if we provided some sort of like treat pole? So it's like a pole and it might have like skeleton hands and the treats in the hands, or it's a bucket and they take their item out of the bucket. Because I was thinking we could maybe do some of the games if possible. Let me pull up the idea notes I had to make it so that there's not even really like a person there. So something they could do is like they could do fishing for candy. So they throw it over and there's a barrier between them and the person hooking the treat on. And a few other ideas were like doing like a beanbag toss or a dime toss or a ping pong ball toss where, you know, it goes in a bucket or a cauldron or a, you know, through a ghost or things like that, where these games are pre-set up and neighbors can just take a shift at a game instead of having to commit to bringing their vehicle, decorating their vehicle, being there the whole 3 hours of the event, and then breaking down and going home in the dark. So, does that seem reasonable? Okay.
Sounds like a school carnival. It sounds great.
Yeah, it might be a little inspired by one of my childhood carnivals. Sorry. I would love to know how, if any of the neighbors here, so we're talking about Halloween Festival. We're excited about Halloween Festival. Who wants to volunteer for Halloween Festival?
I think
I'll help out.
sorry.
Go ahead.
It would depend on, as someone else mentioned, if it was on Halloween or not, because I would definitely be interested in volunteering, but couldn't do it on Halloween night. So
Awesome. More ideas on that? More thoughts? More comments?
Yeah, I think Halloween night would be kind of out for us just because we do our own thing. We have a tradition here where we
All right.
put on all of the costumes we own. It's wardrobe change. No, I think it would be easier to do it before Halloween. And I'd be happy to help out with, you know, either, and I can man the booth. If I were to decorate my trunk, would I just like maybe make little bags of candy for kids? That way there's not, I guess less contact. What I guess are going to be the rules given COVID with safety?
So I've been giving this a lot of thought, and I was thinking that to make this more accessible for neighbors to volunteer at, I'd like to ask BDNA to buy all the treats for it so that neighbors aren't on the hook for that. So you could if you want to help with treats, you can donate. But for it all to be kind of pre-sorted and ready to go so that it's not in people's houses, in their cars, being carted around and then showing up and going to everybody. It's BDNA does a bulk buy. We have it there. You either decorate your trunk or you show up for a game and you are just given the treats you're going to hand out. Does that seem like a better scenario than trying to figure that out on your own?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, because then we can provide both a food and a non-food treat at each station, because a lot of kids have allergies or they can't have, the dye, or they have braces, so they can't have the chewy things. And we've had a lot of kids who chose the non-food one. So usually what the people do is if the parents indicate they can have a choice, they'll offer both. And and we could provide, I know we have in the BDNA Halloween stash, we have a ton of treat bowls that we had snacks in the last time. So each station could have a big bowl that is held out. So it's kind of a no contact kind of thing. All right. And we'll of course provide masks, and I'm happy to provide food service gloves and all that, and sanitizer. So all that PPE we'll make sure we have on site. So how do we feel about October 30th? Do we want to do 4 to 7 p.m.? Or is 7 feeling too late? Do we want to do 4 to 6 and be gentle on ourselves?
I feel like everyone has reduced their extra time outside. And so 4 to 6 or even 3:30 to 6 sounds great to me.
Mhm.
And one thing that crossed my mind is, could we borrow some of the carnival game sort of supplies, like the setups from any local schools?
Mhm.
I know when my daughter was in school, we did them. There were parents who had this stuff all set up, or they had it stored in the school.
So I know
Maybe.
Woodmere has at least a couple. We could check with Whitman and Lane. That's a great idea, Gilly. So let's, I will take that task since I have contacts there. And because they might not be allowed to loan them to us for whatever PPS reason. But I will contact.
Quick question. Do you guys ever partner with local organizations or stores or anything like that to have little prizes or giveaways in exchange for them, like getting their name out there, that we could maybe look into in case we wanted to do some kind of like costume contest or like just a giveaway for like games?
That's a difficult question. It's a long question. In the past, we have partnered with different businesses, but we are a mostly residential neighborhood. So we just have little pockets of businesses. So for example, Miri's did treats for one of our events once. They donated some treats, but a lot of our businesses are smaller and can't always give things away without hurting themselves financially, especially right now. But if you know of a business that might like to do that, I'm definitely open to that. We could also use a little of our BDNA funds to have some prizes or something like that. In the past, the only prize other than the outrageous amount of treats and toys we give out and glow sticks has been a trophy for the best decorated trunk. So there was but I really think that having pre-set up is going to be the way to go this year, because I know that everybody is really stretched. And if you have to show up, set up, come up with something to do that setup, it's just not going to happen. But if it's, hey, show up for an hour and hook candy onto a clothespin that kids throw over the wall at you, you're going to be fine with that. It's going to be fine. Okay. I want to make sure we talk about trees before our hour's up, and I'm keeping us to an hour because it's been a very, very long day and very long week for all of us, I'm sure. So any more thoughts on Halloween Festival other than what we have talked about? Okay.
When do we meet and what do we do next?
All right, that's the perfect question. Please put your email in the chat, or you can do it to everyone, or you can just send it to me. And I will make sure you are on the Halloween Festival email chains. And so the work group itself meets on the third Thursday, which means we will meet again, looking at my calendar, on the 21st of October. So we'll meet about a week before our event, assuming that we can get our rental at the community center and everything's fine. So October 21st is our next meeting. But in the meantime, I will, if it's all right with everyone, send out an email with kind of the things we've discussed and next steps and working on that. And we'll also do some discussion on the local groups. Does that sound reasonable to everybody? Okay. Are we ready to talk about trees for a few minutes? All right. Let's see. Was it Marion who was asking about trees? I believe.
Yes.
Okay, Marion, did you have some specific things you wanted to say about trees or questions before I launch into what I know about trees in our neighborhood?
No.
Okay. And I see that we lost Melanie, but she might have insight on trees on the lower Southeast Rising, but that's just a plan. So what I know about trees is there was an inventory done by the Portland Urban Forestry. I don't remember how their order goes, but the tree folks at Portland, probably about 4 years ago. The current vice chair, Rob Hannafin, was involved in that and helped inventory our neighborhood. So somewhere out there is a tree inventory for our neighborhood, and I can probably locate that or ask him where it is. I believe it's also up on Portland's website somewhere. So tree inventory we can look for. The other things are that there are 2 free tree programs. There is the Friends of Trees street tree program that helps you get trees in your park, in your curb strip, in your 10-foot right away that you have to keep between the curb and your fence, or where the curb would be if you had a curb. So that's street trees. There is also the free yard trees program run by the city of Portland, and that is for trees inside your fence line or non-right of way area. I can get links for both of those. But I've seen a ton of interest on local groups about, let's do a big tree event. Let's do a big tree buy, something like that. So I would love opinions on that. I would love to know what people are actually interested in, and then we can kind of figure out our resources and what we can do from there. So popcorn up with tree talk.
I'm super into this topic and I'm very excited about it. And I feel like something good to consider when we do this will be not just trees, but which ones provide good tree canopy and shade for people going on walks. I noticed in the very hot days that I'm sure we all noticed. So I love that idea a lot and would be really interested in being involved. And especially I'm thinking, because I don't really have one of those little strips because I don't have a sidewalk. So I wonder other ways that we could get more trees in the neighborhood for those of us that don't have that little strip.
It's definitely a question. If you can plant a tree in your yard, I'm going to put a link in the chat for that free tree program. And Laura Lee couldn't make it tonight, but she's our secretary on the board, and she actually did this program and said it was fantastic. They came out, helped her figure out which trees to pick, where to plant them, how to plant them. So that link in the chat is highly recommended. Marion, you look like you might want to say something.
Oh, I'm just gonna say I did order 2 trees from them, and I'm gonna pick them up in a couple weeks. So I didn't get any help. I just wanted a trees that would fit. So I picked those myself.
Excellent. So it can be either way. You can have all the control you want, or you can be like, no, I have no idea about trees. Help me.
Yeah, and I don't have a sidewalk either, and people just park in front of my house, so I don't know if I can do friends with trees or not, you know.
You would have to ask them. They'll actually be able
Mhm.
to tell you. They are up on all the regulations. But let us know how your trees are when you get them. I'd love to know.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm also interested for, like I said, on Cooper, there's this whole stretch where nobody seems to own that. And I was wondering if they could get more trees.
What's the cross streets on that stretch? Do you know?
Well, about where my street is, like 65th to maybe, I don't know, 68th, there's nothing there. And there's nothing there to the park, the other way, 65th to, I don't know, about 62nd. Well, not all the way to 62nd, but 63rd at least. There's not really much. It's sort of barren.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And then there's a place where they have all those RVs right off 62nd.
So, well, so the question about who owns that space and can we put trees there, we can definitely ask Stephanie. She is unavailable until the end of the month, but we'll answer all questions when she gets back. So I will send this question to her.
Awesome.
And hopefully have an answer at the next meeting for you, or at least as she's researching it and here's what she's done, because sometimes it takes a while to figure things out as you get rerouted through the different departments in Portland, trying to find who actually has that information.
Yes.
So, okay. I seem to remember we wanted, neighbors have been asking for like a tree buying event. What's the interest in that? Do we want to have like a big tree sale, plant sale, things like that? Are we feeling interested in like a mass tree planting, or just like a consistent concerted effort to get neighbors to plant trees?
I like the event idea because I think it's more low barrier than asking people to go off on their own and like plant.
Yeah. All right.
Could,
Oh, another thought. Go ahead.
could we still get trees from that free yard trees? What is it at portlandoregon.gov?
Yes, I just linked it in the chat there.
Oh, good. Yeah. Okay.
And that was Marion was saying that she just ordered some.
Oh,
They do still have trees available, and I believe they have 16 varieties. So it's lots to choose from. And I know they had white oaks, because I know that there was interest in that in some of the Facebook groups. There is a possibility that we could host a sparrowhawk nursery event in the spring, and they do sell trees. So we could maybe see if they would do a focus on trees, or something to that effect. They are an interesting concept. It's a pop-up nursery. So they do sales online, and then different groups host the pickup and get a portion of the profits. So the groups can make up to $5,000 as a distribution site. I know that plant sales are always a popular thing, and if we did that, we could also make it bigger. We could partner with Portland Free Trees to come out and have a table at the pickup where people are picking up their plants to catch them for their free street trees. We could have Learning Guards Lab, we could have Master Gardeners, we could have, maybe we could get Urban Forestry to come out and answer tree questions and make it a whole tree event. Go ahead, Gilly.
One of the awesome things about having it as an event too is maybe some of us neighbors who don't have space to plant in our yards but are passionate about it or feel strongly can come out and help neighbors who aren't in a position to do the work themselves and actually help them plant properly and get them in their yard.
Like a
Utilize
tree
helpers.
planting buddy program. So it's like a
Yeah.
big sister, big brother. What would you be, like a big planter?
No.
Yeah, that's a
I
good
have to
idea.
work on that.
Yeah,
It's too
no,
long
I
of a
love
day.
it. It's
Yeah.
like a tree mentor, because if you don't know how to plant a tree, it's really daunting.
Or if you can't dig the hole.
Yeah, so like
Yeah.
we could have a group of volunteers to dig your hole and plant your tree if you're not able to do it yourself, which could really help out a lot of our seniors and folks with chronic conditions. I like
Friends
it.
of Trees does that where they travel in a pack with a truck that has like the mulch and stuff, and they just bust it out in like 10 minutes together in a little
Yeah, right.
3-pack herd.
That's awesome.
Like it. I have not
Yeah.
gotten to do a Friends of Trees event yet. So knowledge of that is really helpful. All right.
Starbucks supplies their coffee forever. So
Do you think that Starbucks might do something for Halloween festival and tree planting?
yes, of course.
Okay. Okay, so it sounds like we want to have host Sparrowhawk if we can, but regardless, we want to have a big tree and like big tree and urban canopy event. And that would be a spring event. Does that sound like the right time to do that? I know it's better to plant trees in the fall, but we are in the fall. So if we want to do it, spring trees. Okay. People who know more about planting trees than I do, when is a good spring sale time, or should we see if we can host a Sparrowhawk event and base it around that first?
Typically, you want to do it after any huge frost and before it gets hot. So somewhere in like that March, April time frame. And the cooperative programs with the Forest Service would probably, or even Friends of Trees would probably give us some info and background. If you want, I can do some research on that to find out some of that information. I worked for the Forest Service for a brief time in that program.
Oh, that would be wonderful if you don't mind. And I'm actually trying to figure out a time to talk to Sparrowhawk about being a hosting site, so we could see what their schedule looks like as well, and if that coordinates with the right time to get trees out. Okay.
Cool. I'll check with them at Urban Forestry, ODF, whoever, and just see what resources they have for us, and then send it to you via email. Cool.
Please. And then do we also want to take this opportunity to start hawking our Soak It Week 2022 event, which is, if you are new to the neighborhood, you may not have gotten to do Soak It Week, which was distribution. We distributed 200 buckets with pre-drilled holes, and they had labels and with how much to water your tree for what age it is. And then we had 2 Soak It Weeks with Trees for Life Oregon, and that was the last week of July and August, and we advertised and emailed neighbors and reminded them to soak their trees and gave out the free buckets and all of those things. So we could kind of start that. Okay, here's your tree, but don't forget about your other trees while you're at it. You got to keep those. Okay. All right, we are coming up on our time. Any last thoughts on this? Because what I'd like to do is have the discussion meeting and then kind of pull all the thoughts together, put it out to the community, bring in their feedback, and at the next meeting, do the next set of details. Does that sound good to everyone?
Yeah.
Okay. Any final thoughts on our, we'll just dub it, the working title is Awesome Tree Event. All right. Any other final thoughts or questions or ideas or things we want to remember for future meetings, criticisms, comments, ideas, all of it? Go for it.
quick circle back to Halloween. As far as COVID safe trick or treating goes, I do know that Danielle is going to set up a COVID safe trick or treating map again. And for folks who are new to the neighborhood, one of the admins in our Brentwood-Darlington Connected group made a map of all the homes that agreed to set up COVID safe trick or treating and make sure that and commit to being available that night. And so our is it cool to share that on the BD Neighborhood Association page?
I think it
Or
might
send it to you?
be, if it's okay to share it with everybody, it would be better to put it up
Mhm.
on the website and then filter it through. And if we have it ahead of this event, I would be more than happy to do little printouts or even like a code they can scan to go to a map of it. Do a QR code or something, or a little bit.ly or something like that. So it could be, you could get COVID safe trick-or-treating information at the COVID safe Halloween festival. Sound
That
good?
would be really awesome. I know she's starting it right around October 1st, so she'll have it up plenty in advance. So thank you.
And if we do a QR code, is she putting it like on a Google map?
Exactly.
So if she does that, we can do a QR code with that Google map link on it. And so it'll just be updated as much as she updates it, and it's not a static list. So that's what we did with the free water stations, and it seemed to work okay.
Thank you.
Is it too late to register your house as a COVID safe trick or treat option? Does anyone know?
No, it just started.
It hasn't even started.
Okay.
October 1st, and
there.
it'll be available on multiple places.
Okay.
All right. And yeah, and if you're not on Facebook and you want to be on that list, you can email the BDNA and say, hey, connect me with that person. And I will happily make sure you get there, because I know not everybody is on Facebook or uses Facebook Messenger. So, all right. Anything more before we end the recording for the evening?
I was just going to say it was really nice to see and meet some new neighbors. I think that's pretty awesome.
Agreed.
So one of these days we'll have to do a get together, you know.
When we can get together in person again, for sure. So.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and end the recording, and I'll give a couple minutes if folks want to say anything more to each other before I close the room. Thanks everyone for coming. I will see you next month, hopefully, on October 21st at 6:30 p.m. Same link. Thanks so much.